Truth TV with the NBA's reigning Coach of the Year, George Karl. George, how's it going?
Kevin, I'm hanging out in Bristol and learning the ropes. Feel like a rookie a little bit, but it's been a good time so far. You know, trying to figure out how to get involved with the ESPN NBA gang.
Oh, be careful what you wish for.
It should be fun though. It's going to be.
Are you one of those guys who gets really antsy when there's no office 2 in the morning?
I would say yes, but I think I've learned to be a little bit better at that than in the past. If this was 20 years ago or 15 years ago or even 10 years ago, I'd probably be a little bit more antsy right now. I think now, part of my life right now is I like to settle down. I like to be a little more balanced, a little more maybe sane. That would be a bit crazy way to put it.
I want to question, you once told me that predictability is the enemy in basketball. And I know that in Denver, a lot of the stuff you guys ran, you internally called random basketball, which was always a little bit peculiar to me. Why is random better than planned?
Well, you got to have both, but I think random is easier. I think players like to play, have some freedom to show what their talents are. And I think a lot of coaches overcoach. I think they want control, and so with control, they demand that they do it their way. And I like opening up the window of opportunity with whatever, 20, 30, 40. I think at times last year in Denver, it'd be 50 or 60 possessions where it's just basketball. Go out and see what you can find. Do it well. Do it as a team. Keep your spacing. Find the open man. Be unselfish. And I don't necessarily always want to call a play. I think sometimes matchups are important. Sometimes, how to get the ball to a certain person is a coach's responsibility. But in the same sense, I think playing before the defense sets up, before the scouting report can become prominent, become important, and doing it with quick decisions keeps the defense in what I call in a recovery mode rather than an aggressive mode.
Right, and there's enough data now to suggest that the offense does have the advantage for the first 7, 8, 9 seconds of the shot clock, and then that curve sort of switches over to the defense. So I guess my question is why is there so much overcoaching? Why aren't guys more apt to lay back? Is it an issue of job security? Is it an issue of I have to show my stuff? After all, I was hired for my expertise. What good am I sitting over here? Or is it something more cynical? I mean, what is the urge that makes coaches just want to absolutely exert control over the game?
Well, I don't know if that's the case, to be honest with you. I think the thing is there's got to be a balance between discipline, execution, and freedom. And I don't think you can do it totally one way and be successful unless you have the best players. If you want to, LeBron James can take any system you give him, and he'll make it work. Larry Bird, you give him a system, he'll make it work. Michael Jordan, you give him the triangle, he'll make it work. If they ran pick and roll in Chicago, he would have won championships. But the whole thing comes down to is giving freedom along with a structure and also some execution. And then we're not even talking about the defensive end of the court because I think you got to have a balance. It can't just be about offense. It's got to be it's an equal opportunity game. You got to play offense and you got to play defense. And my time in Denver, what we were trying to do is we were trying to become a top 10 team at both. And we got there offensively. I think we almost got there last year defensively.
I was in Seattle briefly when you were coaching there, and I love those teams partially because of what you said, the defensive system there, the SOS pressure defense, and you guys were just running around the court forcing turnovers. I think you set some kind of league record then, and at the time it was considered just guerrilla warfare. I guess some of that's been applied in Chicago and Boston over the years, but your teams were the first really in Seattle to just kind of throw the kitchen sink.
Well, we were really in the double team in the ball and taking the ball out of your best player's hand, trying to speed the game up. I think now the offense is speeding the game up by shooting it quick and running up and playing within the first 5-6 seconds of the game. But we tried to speed the game up by creating offense with defensive turnovers. And when you have Gary Payton and you have Nate McMillan and you have guys like that, I think we led the league in steals for about 4 or 5 consecutive seasons. It's an aggressive way of playing. I like my team to be the aggressive team. I like my team to be the physical team. if I get that done, I think I have a good chance of winning on almost any given night.
All right. One of my big pet peeves is last second situation, game on the line, you need one score, and yet, kind of going back to our earlier premise, most coaches in the league go to 1-4 flat, let their biggest scorer pound the ball until it gets to 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, and then just go. When, again, there's more evidence that suggests that pop the ball around, actually run something, incorporate a pass. Yes, there's risk that's associated with passing the ball in a one possession, but why do coaches still continue to go to this 1-4 flat when the score's never been more important?
I think a lot of it is controlling who gets the ball and controlling the clock. I mean, if it's a tie game, I think coaches have more freedom to say, okay, let's run a play maybe. But when you're behind or when you're holding for the last shot, time and score are very, very important. And what you don't want to do is at the end of a game get in a position where the ball falls into a guy that can't score it. And so a lot of times when you run a lot of options and actions, the ball can be moved to the wrong guy. And so I think at the end of the game, what you see is usually one option or two option plays. And after that, we're spacing the court and letting the guy who has that ball play basketball.
I'd forgotten until this morning that you'd gone off to Real Madrid for a couple of seasons, right in kind of the middle of a career that was building here. See, obviously the NBA level, the Patroons, and then you go off to Spain for a couple of seasons. And what was that experience like? What got you over there? Was it a change of scenery? Did you want to pick up things that were only probably available for a young coach in Spain to understand? What was it?
I think it was the Real Madrid tradition. I mean, the two teams I've coached, I have a lot of kind of pride to be a part of, is the University of North Carolina basketball program. And Real Madrid has won, 15, 20 European championships in basketball, soccer. And I just wanted to go. I didn't mind. I liked the opportunity of taking my family over to Europe and see how they handled that. And, it wasn't, we didn't win. The second time I went over, my team would go on after I came back to Seattle. They would go on to win the European championship. But, it was a very good experience for me, even though I don't think it was the best basketball experience for me.
All right, last question. I beg your pardon on this one, but I have a gentleman's wager that was pushed on me by someone we know. And it was to ask you, in good nature, who is the most disinterested NBA defender you've ever coached? Not necessarily the worst defender, but one who expressed the least interest in defending.
That would probably go way, way back early in my career. It'd be World Be Free.
World Be Free. San Diego Clipper, Cleveland Cavalier. World Be Free. I will not wager, but I appreciate the candor. Hey, George, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Okay. It's always good talking to a basketball guru.